Hi, this is Trevor with the C22 team, and welcome back to the C22 channel. Well, I'm sure that most of our viewers have sat down and enjoyed a great horror movie or a thriller. My personal favourites are the ones that's based around the family experiencing scary things at night whilst they're all safely tucked away in bed. It doesn't bear thinking about, does it? If something like that happened that would happen in a horror movie, would actually happen in real life or to your family. Hope it never happens, by the way. I don't wish that on anybody. But I do remember a long time ago reading a little known story that ended up in the national press where something that would be typically in a horror movie actually happened to one family in the UK way back in the 1970s. So I thought I would share this with our viewers, as something strange may have happened to each and every one of you. Even when you were young, possibly, and it was dismissed by your parents as just something simple, like you may have just imagined it, or you were just having a bad dream, or going through a phase, or perhaps even having an imaginary friend. I did actually speak to my parents, and although I can't remember anything, apparently I did have an imaginary friend too, and my mum would have to make a place at the table for them. Seriously, she really did. Anyway, I feel extremely lucky that I was in the lucky position that I was able to interview the actual girl from the story. Obviously, the lady in question is now in her late 40s, and to this day she remembers everything, as it had a massive impact on both herself and also her family. So here goes. This is what the information was that I got from her. This is a fascinating story. When she was 2, her parents lived in what they believed to be a normal family home. And at the time they hadn't so much as seen anything, but just felt an odd atmosphere when they lived there. The scariest incident, after speaking to the lady, from their point of view, was with her rag doll. It all started when she started to play with an imaginary friend. It all seemed quite harmless to her parents. She told them she was called Dodge. It's quite a strange name, that, but she was called Dodge. And on occasions, when she actually asked to be put to bed early, which is quite unusual for a young child, because normally we want to stay up and not go to bed. But she asked to be put to bed early because Dodge was coming to play with her. Her mum, of course, obliged, looking forward to some peace and quiet. If she had actually known at the time who Dodge really was, she might have been quite terrified, to be honest. But when she was young, she would be sat in bed waiting for her friend Dodge to come and visit. She was told by her parents that one time her dad left the lounge to go and make a cup of coffee, and could hear a conversation coming from his daughter's bedroom. Thinking it was quite cute at the time and how little the girl was talking to herself, then they decided to sneak up the stairs and have a listen in outside the bedroom door, because it was slightly open. So they tried to peer in, but they couldn't quite see very much. But apparently she was sitting on the bedroom floor on a rug at the foot of the bed, holding one of her favourite toys, which was actually a rag doll from the 1970s. And apparently it wasn't as creepy looking as some of the images that I've just gone and shown you, but that was just for added effect. But it was just an ordinary 1970s rag doll. But anyway, at first she started to talk to the doll, and the parents were sat there listening, grinning to each other, and then everything suddenly changed, because apparently a hideous, croaky old lady's voice that just emanated what they can only describe as evil came out of the doll. How bizarre. It's a fascinating story. Apparently her parents looked at each other in horror, and the dad's face, the colour drained from both of his faces, and he leapt and burst into the room and snatched the rag doll from his daughter. So she was screaming because her dad had took the doll, and in a total panic, he rushed downstairs and tore the doll apart, even cutting up the body with scissors and pulling all the stuffing out. In the meantime, the mother had to pick her daughter up because she was screaming and carry her out of the room, and all the while screaming that her father had taken Dodge away from her. Her parents were shaken by this incident and still kept on mentioning it when she grew up, as they simply can't explain it. They thought that they had gotten rid of Dodge by doing that to the doll, but apparently she was still with her. She couldn't remember everything, but she did describe the way that she looked, which was a very old and frail looking lady dressed in black. And apparently she wore a black shawl that looked like it was hand knitted, and a black headscarf. In fact, she had a long, thin face, and this is the description I was given: long nose and sharp chin, and she was actually laughing about it, saying that the best way to describe how Dodge looked was a little bit like the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, only older looking apparently, and without green skin, of course. Her visits apparently gradually became less frequent, but she was still around the house because it was always very cold. There was always an unhappy atmosphere, apparently. Things would go missing and then turn up in the most unusual of places. Her parents would get up in the morning to find the lights on, taps running. Even in one instance, the fire was switched back on, even though they knew that they'd thoroughly checked and made sure that everything was switched off before going to bed. Her dad used to work night shifts, and he commuted every morning, and every time he used to come back in and hang his coat up in the hallway, he said that someone would always tap him on the shoulder, which is quite a random thing to say, but apparently it happened on an almost daily basis when he was working the night shift. And the mother was so afraid in the house that she tended to keep this lady and her sister and the brother in her room all night because they were petrified. But anyway, apparently the man that lives next door, or lived next door, should I say, once stopped them and said that he'd got up one night to go to the bathroom when he saw a old lady walking down his staircase and pass right through the wall leading into their own house. And this gentleman didn't know anything about the Dodge occurrence or anything, but it does sound and add credibility to the story about Dodge. Anyway, her mother unfortunately passed away, so that she can't ask her anything else about the house, and her father refuses to talk about it these days, describing that time in his house as one of the blackest times of his life, because there were so many unexplainable occurrences throughout her childhood in that house, and way too many to mention for this video at least, although I may cover this story again at some point. Well, all I can say is thank you ever so much for sharing that with us, and let's hope that others come forward with their stories and eyewitness accounts of things that they themselves have experienced that can't be explained. That's it for now, so thanks for joining us, and if you do wish to comment and discuss this or any other topic, or if you have a photograph or video clip that you'd like to send in to us, we'd love to analyse it, and if with your permission we'll happily share it with viewers as well. So please feel free to get in touch with us, and it'd be great to hear from you. Anyway, good night for now, and hope to see you soon.